All right, everybody. Welcome again to the TF podcast. I'm really excited because I'm here with Rahul Sood. We're going to be talking about what's been happening in the sports world, gambling, the financial stuff that's going on, COVID-19, just how that's impacting everything. We've had Rahul participate in our events and things in the past, and he's been a great supporter of what we're doing. So please help me welcome Rahul, and please introduce yourself, bud.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Rahul Sood, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Unicorn. I might have some coughing issues. I've had it for the last 12 days or 10 days, and I had some gasping for air issues a couple of days ago. I ended up going to the hospital. I couldn't get a test at all. But then when I went to the hospital, they actually did test me. So I'm waiting for that to come back, but I'm pretty sure that I got it.
Wow.
I'm just kind of dealing with it. But working from home, and it is what it is. So
that's crazy. Yeah, and because it's crazy that you can be a healthy individual, still get it, and no matter how much you protect yourself, you don't know when. I'm sure you probably don't have an idea. Do you have an idea of how you might have possibly?
Well, they think it was from my travels to New York, but I have no idea. Literally no clue.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I feel like. That's
what
made everything.
Because they ask you that question, hey, when you go to the doctors and nurses, they ask you when you're getting screened for if they should test you. One of the questions is, have you been in contact with anyone with COVID-19? Yes or no? It's like, well, I don't know. It's not an answer, right?
Right.
Yes or no. So I just said I don't know, and then I thought that was just one of those things that they do, but but yeah, it sucks. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, I hope you feel better soon. Glad you're at least safe at home. But it's been crazy. It's been taken over, every single industry, including the gaming industry and sports. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you. One, I know you're a huge sports fan. And then two, obviously with your company and what you've been doing with eSports betting and just gaming overall over the years, figure you'd have a great, interesting perspective. I guess first with that is, what do you think about all these leagues shutting down? The Nets literally just announced today, 4 new players, and KD being one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think it's a necessity. It has to be shut down. I understand why they want to do it. Social distancing, what it means. Bringing down that hump, I guess, so that the hospitals aren't overwhelmed. We just have to do it. I don't want to get into sort of the political issues around it, but I feel like the way it was handled could have been different, I guess. But
yeah,
look, at the end of the day, leagues are definitely shutting down, and the gambling industry is panicking.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for us, we've got an edge. We've had a lot of calls recently, where there's nothing is off the table right now with us. We've got a lot of calls from very large companies that are looking to us for solutions to fill in the void, and we got them. Like, we got the best. So
that's great. Yeah. That's great. And I definitely want to dig into that. But before we do on that, let's talk a little bit more about just the kind of like, these sports books going down, right? So there's basically no gambling at any of these casinos anymore, correct? Or sorry, I shouldn't say gambling. There's no sports betting at any of these casinos right now.
Well, there's no people at any of the casinos. Like the casinos.
That's true too. Yeah.
Shut down, right? But generally speaking, you have to start with the sport itself. If there's no sports, there's no markets, there's nothing to watch, there's nothing to bet on, right? And that's what you have to look at. And what's unique about esports is a lot of the big events. I mean, we're like anybody else. The big events are getting canceled, but they're going online. So the events can go online. People can play in isolation, which is cool.
And that's part of the culture anyway, right? These gamers are used to playing for the most part in their own homes, and sure, they'll communicate over, video and audio chat and so forth. But
Yeah, but beyond that, beyond just the spectator where you watch a game and you place a bet, we've also invented streamer betting where you can watch your favorite streamer on Twitch or Mixer, and we produce live odds using predictive analytics, computer vision tech, and AI trading bots. So you can
Yeah.
watch Ninja, for example, on Mixer, and you can place bets on what he's doing in the game. We also created virtual eSports, which is 24/7 betting on historical matches. It's really cool.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
and then we
How does
have
that work?
it's great. I mean, we got it's kind of like virtual horse racing or something. We
Okay.
have this platform where we've got historical matches of Street Fighter and CS:GO, and there's a few other games coming. But basically, it's like a mixer of historical events where the customer gets to view the upcoming event that's coming. They get to place bets, and then once they place their bets, the random number generator picks which round is going to come up, and then they win or lose. And it's very popular in Asia. It's very popular in Europe. It's gaining in popularity all over the place. It's a lot of fun. And
Interesting.
then uh, and then we created something just like completely unique where gamers can play games and bet on themselves in games that they love to play. So, for example, and there's two different ways to bet. One of them is where we give you odds on your chances of doing certain things in games like Fortnite or League of Legends or Dota, and you're betting against the house, so you're betting against us, but you're playing the game at home. And the other one is where you bet against your friends, so you can play games like Madden, you can play, NBA 2K, you can play FIFA, like all these really cool games, whether it's console or PC. We got Call of Duty, we got a whole bunch of games, and you can go in a lobby, you can place your bets, and you bet against each other, and the house takes a rake. It's called Money Match, and we just launched that as well. So
Interesting.
so we have by far the most breadth of product in the space, and I think it's because of that these the big gambling operators are calling us now, wondering what we want to do with them. So
Yeah.
it's just
And
unfortunate it's under these circumstances, but it is.
for, for sure. And so with that, is it they're saying basically is like, hey, they have open demand essentially right now, but no way to fill that demand, and so they're looking for new ways to fill that demand, being esports. Is that a fair assumption?
That's a fair assumption. And then when they hear about what we actually have besides just watching people play games and bet on them, the fact that you can bet on yourself, the world is changing. Like the world is a different place than it was 2 weeks ago in many ways. For example, in entertainment, you got Hollywood actors that are coming down with this virus. You've got
Yeah.
people like Colbert doing his show from his bathtub today.
Right.
Um, and then you have John Legend doing a concert, on Instagram, like a private concert, right on his
Yeah.
piano. Very cool stuff. Then you got Universal giving movies like that are in the theater. So you can rent it on demand now.
Yeah.
You can get brand new movies on demand for $20. It's crazy. So so the way we look at it is you have people that are play basketball or whatever. They're at home, they like to play these games, they like to play video games. Like I know that Marshawn Lynch is a fan of Madden and other games, and there's a bunch of people in sports that play video games,
Yeah.
Fortnite and that sort of thing. And imagine you could just sit at home and bet against your friends while they're at home. It makes it just more interesting. And
Right.
we're built, we're ready to go. People can do it today. They can come to unicorn.com, do it from many places around the world, like 43 countries, including the US. And you can play to win. It's fun.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that video going around last week of Devin Booker, the guard for the Phoenix Suns,
Yeah.
finding out about the NBA being shut down while he was streaming on Twitch. He's like, looking at his, or playing on his Twitch, and that happened. It was really crazy. So, what do you think this does overall? Does this, once COVID subsides and people, quote unquote, go back to normal, how does this shift the paradigm overall for the gambling industry? Does it make them start to think twice about, what they're focusing on? And it seems like this probably opens up the door even further, regardless if we go back to COVID, or sorry, we go back to normal as a result of COVID subsiding. Seems like this opens up new opportunities.
I think everything changes. Today I was looking at a post from someone in Italy where I don't know if it's fake or if it's real, but it looks real. It's from a reliable news source, but it's like pictures of the water and how the colors are coming back in Venice and things like that,
Yeah.
where the climate is healing itself essentially, and it's just it's weird. It's almost biblical or prophetic or something where we're all stuck in our homes now. We're not driving cars, and maybe this will be good for the environment. Maybe it'll get people to think about what's more important in life. Maybe it'll get companies to think about what do they do in the next sort of situation. Maybe it'll get our leaders to actually listen to people like Bill Gates and you know smart people who
Yeah.
know that this stuff is coming, right? I don't know. I think just the world is a different place now, right? So
Totally,
yeah,
totally. Yeah, it is. It is crazy. I saw that, like, there's the silt's not basically going up in the water, so it's pristine, clear blue, and yeah, it's pretty amazing how that has been the case. There's pictures of the maps over China a few weeks ago that there's virtually no smog because people weren't going around. I'm saving on gas right now,
yeah, yeah.
but
Actually, another thing that I noticed is just looking at the raw data. The younger people in China were less susceptible to getting it or getting really sick by it. Older people were, obviously more, get more in trouble with it. Then in Italy, it's younger people are getting it, and at a much higher rate. And you got to think, what is the difference? And the fundamental difference, I think, this is just anecdotal me speaking.
yeah,
In China, there's like high pollution, right? So people grow up in pollution and that sort of thing. But the older people smoke a lot, right?
yeah,
Younger people don't smoke as much there as they do in Italy. Everybody smokes, right?
yeah,
Smoking is a big thing. Maybe if you smoke, you should stop now. It's it's a lung thing, and when the other day when I went to the hospital, I I felt my lungs shrinking where I was gasping for breath. Um, Not a good feeling. So I
no.
imagine if you got unhealthy lungs, it'll get it's bad. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that
Yeah.
is gnarly. Well, I know I follow you on Twitter, and obviously you're paying attention to what's happening in global markets and so forth as a result. Love to kind of get your take and thoughts on that as well. Um, you know,
Oh, like the crypto markets and
no,
the Fed and
actually, even just like, let's go regular first, and then we can evolve to crypto. But just the Fed cut down the rates to zero on Sunday. Didn't seem to do
stupid
much,
move. It doesn't make sense. Like
right?
they got rid of every bit of last ammunition. The best move they could have done was follow Andrew Yang's, give everyone $1,000. Like,
Yeah,
put money in the people's hands rather than trying to bail out the government, the banks, and all that shit. You can't go back to that again.
yeah,
Stupid
yeah,
move. It's very reactive. You know where the priorities are of certain people in the administration when they talk about the stock market gains and this and that. It's almost like they're tone deaf to what's actually happening and not empathetic to real people.
yeah,
But you know what? It happened. So now they got to do more, and they continue to print money, and they have to figure out this crisis still. We may have a different tone now, but it's still chaotic at the top. How like you have to be able to organize and solve these problems. But with that, it's interesting to me to see all of that happen. And in the midst of that, you saw Bitcoin kind of crash to
yeah,
4,500 or whatever, and then it bounced back, and then it kind of held its ground, and now
yeah.
it's starting to gain a little strength. In a market that's in trouble.
Right.
Um, I think people are going to wake up to it. I really do. Like I'm a huge believer in Bitcoin. Always have been. You can't print more Bitcoin. You can't Bitcoin doesn't need a bailout. There's just so much about it that makes it. This is what it was designed for. Bitcoin was designed, for these types of situations. Right after the crash in 2008. It's
Yeah.
this is the time when we'll, in maybe 12 to 18 months, we're going to see the real Bitcoin emerge and why it's like people like us are so bullish about it. So
Yeah. And exactly what you're saying there is what's interesting is that, though, yes, it went down, when everything else went down, it's been able to, kind of maintain some steadiness here now that it's kind of found at least a new floor, right? Temporarily. So we'll see,
yeah,
what happens there. But for those that are really bullish on Bitcoin, like, what I've been telling people is that, we're not in it for it. Bitcoin at 10,000,
Right.
we're in it for, Bitcoin at 100,000, or as a long-term investment, right? Just like you would when you have your Apple or your Microsoft stock as part of your position, and how you're thinking about investing is, more the long term. And sure, there are definitely people that trade and do that, and know how to do that. That's nothing that I know how to do, nor pretend to know. So for
Right.
me, I don't necessarily care when, when it floats up and down 1,000, up and down. Sure, when it goes from 10,000 to 5,000, obviously I'm paying attention to that,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
because it's, that was definitely wild. But yeah, super interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And by the way, my dog might bark right
All
now.
good.
He's barking there, but I'm just gonna let him bark for a couple minutes, and if he doesn't stop, I'll have to go see him.
No, no, all good, all good. It's part of the flavor of where we're at right now, all from home. But you guys normally work from home, right? Do you, is Unicorn a work from home
No,
scenario?
no, we have offices around the world. Our largest office is in Sydney, and then we have another large one in Berlin. The people in the U.S. Work from wherever, so we do, we works and things like that. So working from home for us is not too hard,
Yeah,
because we're kind of a virtual business. It's we can deal with this.
yeah.
Um, hey, one other thing that we're doing is this behind me. Um, we're building we're working with Zed, company in Australia that we've got a significant stake in, and we're helping to kind of build out their platform. And we're building these virtual horses on the blockchain,
Oh
and
wow.
it's really neat. And these horses are basically they're not, it's not a card game. It's not like a fucking card game where you buy these stupid cards and you trade them for no reason. These are these are horses with you know bloodlines. There's a limited number of Genesis horses being produced. Some of them are more limited than others. They all have various factors that make them, race better than other horses would. People can buy them, they can trade them, they can breed them, and they'll soon be invited to races. We're going to have daily horse races that you'll be
Wow.
able to. By the way, these races are not just rolling dice and seeing who wins. These are built on Unity. It's 3D. It's beautiful. You'll be able
Yeah,
to watch these horse races on Twitch. Yeah, and you'll be able to see people around the world will be watching these horse races and betting on the horses.
that's crazy.
And if your horse wins a race, you win the prize money. Like,
Yeah,
so even if you're not a gambler but you just want to buy horses and own them, you can own your own race horses, and the horses that win races have a better chance of winning more races in the future. It's a ton of fun,
yeah.
and you'll see us running our first race here in the next month or so. So
That's super exciting.
yeah.
And crazy. So what are the things that you can do to make your horse, I don't know, perform better? Feed it virtual grass, or what?
No, nothing like that. The horses are they're kind of set like with their bloodlines and their limited availability and things like that. There's certain factors that each horse has, and over time as they race, their chances of winning go up if they win races. It's very much there's algorithms that we built and things like that around how horses win races, but you'll see, there's a limited number of horses. There's different bloodlines. There's different groups. And different factors that make some horses better than others. So on the secondary market, these horses are trading, as high as, like, I think we saw a horse trade for like $9,000 US,
Wow.
based on its limitedness. So, the people in Australia and Asia love this shit. They can't wait for this to happen. But
Yeah.
to think of this like crypto kitties, but on like steroids. And
Well,
so we're working ways to integrate it into our wallet, into Unicorn wallets, and people will be able to exchange UKG for horses and things like that as well. But we'll see where it goes.
that's super interesting because, I've been at casinos and I've seen I feel like there's a horse game at the casino
Yeah,
that you can play. Like it's a
trash,
machine, right? Yeah. It's just,
complete trash. Like you have no attachment to the horse. There's nothing cool about it.
yeah.
This is like you own the horse, it's your baby, right? And and you have attachment to it because it's your asset essentially. So,
Yeah. Is
yeah.
there a blockchain glue factory when they get too old?
We'll see. We'll see. I don't know
No,
about
that's
that.
good. Um, so, that kind of takes me to some other points here is, what other, that's super interesting, right? Like, hey, you're taking the Kentucky Derby essentially and making it game virtual. What other things like that do you see? Is it just like this, the esports betting of even, like the Magic or not the Magic, sorry, the Mavs played a game
Yeah.
like the day after and things like that, and just like betting on that, or are we talking even more than that? Just what are
No, we're
these
talking more than
things?
that. Like if you think about Unicorn, we're an esports first company. We're an esports first entertainment company. But at the end of the day, we're building the future of wagering, and we're building wagering experiences around games people love to play and watch.
Yeah,
So it's like the next generation of sports betting. Games that people love to play like Fortnite and League of Legends and Dota, CS:GO, Halo, Madden. All the sports games. That kind of shit. And then at the same time, we look at horse racing and we think, wow, you know, this used to be like the thing to do.
yeah,
Go to a horse race, watch horse races, bet on them. And in Australia and across Asia, it's popular. But and the Kentucky Derby is popular. But quite frankly, yeah, the audience is getting older. So we're taking like a 50, 60-year-old audience and we're bringing it down to a 26-year-old, and we're making it fun to own these virtual digital thoroughbreds that you don't have to feed.
yeah,
You own these things. There's a limited number. They're traceable on the blockchain. You can see their entire history, like you know, you can see the provenance of the horse essentially, and track the value of it over time. How many races it generates, and that sort of thing, and then be able to bet on it. It's a pretty compelling vision and a really really neat product. So
yeah.
yeah,
That's wild. That's
yeah.
wild. What anything else kind of like that that's coming down the pipe, or even just imagining, like what are some things like that my mind doesn't even think that way, because I don't know, it just doesn't on the gaming side, but
I
it's
mean,
super fascinating. I can totally see why you would
there's
do
a,
that.
there's a lot of stuff we're working on. I'd love to share more,
Sure,
but
sure.
I don't want to. Only it's a competitive industry and stuff. But I can tell you that we are getting a lot of calls now, and I think this is our year to do something big with Unicorn.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, the market fell out from everybody, including us. Like in terms of you know, the people's runways have fallen, and it's hard to raise money and all of that stuff. But look at what we built. And at the end of the day, we really thought about this business holistically, and we've built what I think people need right now. So
yeah.
yeah.
What do you think it takes for, like, I guess when I think about esports overall, the percentage of like the overall market, do you have any indication on that or idea of that, versus like, sorry, so the percentage of like esports market compared to like you're flipping around.
I'm
You're
trying to
upside
see if you can read it. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. What was that?
Yeah, all of a sudden you're
Yeah.
doing a cartwheel. So the percentage of the esports market comparatively to just the overall sports market, what does that
Yeah.
look like? Do you have an idea of that, and like how that's kind of evolved and changed in the last few years?
Well, the easiest way to look at it is, the fan base. And if you look at the fan base for, say, Major League Baseball, it's now around 60 years old. The median age of a Major League Baseball fan is 60. The median age of a a F1 racing fan is like, sorry, not F1 is really high, but golf is like 80 years old now. So PGA Tour is like 80 years old. The youngest sport for watching is really the NBA. But these sports are aging. The older sports, like the Major League Baseballs and the PGA Tour and the F1, that sort of thing, and they're becoming less relevant. And esports continues to grow. Like for every day a Major League Baseball fan has a heart attack, and like 3 esports fans are born. So esports is becoming more relevant. The total addressable market is massive and continues to grow on a regular basis. What people haven't figured out about esports is how to really monetize it. How to get it, how to get it to a point where you can monetize that total addressable market. And there's really a few ways you can do it, but probably one of the strongest ways is through wagering. And I believe we've built the most comprehensive wagering platform, in the world for esports and
Yeah,
video games. So we'll see where that goes, but I'm pretty excited about our future. So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Help us understand how the regulation works on this and that sort of thing. Like as far as being, US compared to globally and how that kind of impacts your business. And then also for instance, these companies that are contacting you about partnering and so forth, like how that plays a factor.
So specifically, you're asking, well, like, what is?
I guess more like so is esports betting legal,
Okay, yeah.
those
So
sort of things,
so
and then
look,
like how does that become more available to people depending on restrictions? Because like for instance, you can't do poker online in pretty much
no,
anywhere anymore, right? So
right.
how does that
Okay,
work for
so
you?
so there's two types of betting. Well, there's three actually. There's one of them is casino betting, where you're betting on, table games like roulette and things like that, and virtual. You need a license for that. One of them is sports betting or sportsbook betting, where you're watching matches and you're placing bets. Same with esports. If you're watching a match and you're placing a bet, or you're watching a streamer and placing a bet, those are considered sportsbook and they require a license. Um, we have an international gaming license for both that run across 43 countries. In the US, the licensing on those is state by state. So you'll see us opening up state by state very soon for that type of betting.
Yeah.
And then the other type, for the last type of betting, is skill betting, where you're betting on your own skill, where you're playing a video game and you're betting on yourself. And nobody does it better than we do. So, that's legal because it's not regulated. So we run that in like 41 states in the US and 43 countries around the world. It's
So
pretty cool.
so on the skill betting like that, that's basically, hey, we're playing Street Fighter 2, and I say like, I'm gonna beat you with Ryu, and you're,
Something like that. Yeah. Street Fighter
whatever.
5. But yeah. So it'd be like, you're betting against someone else. That's one way. Or the other way is you're betting against the house, and you're betting on yourself. So for example, if you say, I'm gonna win my next three League of Legends games, we'll give you odds on that. We'll say, okay, we'll give you, I don't know, 4-1 or something like that. And you say, okay, and you place your bet, and then you go play the game. If you don't win the next three games, you lose your bet. If you win, you win, and we pay you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super fun. How has that grown since you started it?
It's growing. It's the challenging part we have. Well, the probably the biggest challenge we have is with payment processors, and crypto. So we're in this world where we've built a very easy and very compelling crypto offering, but real consumers still aren't there yet with cryptocurrency, right? Like
Yeah,
2017 came, boom was there, and then the market fell, and the real people behind crypto are speculators and traders. There's no users,
yeah,
and so we're building users. We probably have more consumers using our platform than say like 99% of the crypto platforms out there,
sure,
uh,
sure.
and they're actually betting with crypto. But we need more, and we need to make it easier for them. We need them to understand things like, password management and 2FA, and understanding what a private key is, but doing it in a way that's sort of in the background, that doesn't make it impossible for them to use the platform, because that kind of shit is not good.
No,
And so we've been working very closely with Bittrex. They're a great company, and we we built a tool with them where customers can come to our platform and they can cash in Bitcoin or Ethereum or top currencies on the platform and get an immediate exchange onto our coins, so they can go and bet, and then they can convert back. It's all powered by Bittrex, and it doesn't require them to have both accounts. They just have to do it on our platform, and we run it for them. So that's a cool way to do it, but there's other ways to make it easier as well. And then on the other side, on the traditional side, the payment processors, we need to be a lot bigger to get like the big payment processors on board, people like PayPal and, Visa and MasterCard. And
yeah,
none of those guys are comfortable with crypto yet. So
right.
sort of like, it's tough, but we will get there through commercial relationships and things like that.
Sure. So companies like Square Cash or even Coinbase Commerce, has that been helpful at all? Or are those things you use? I know they supposedly have offerings, but
I've
for
never really,
accepting payment, but I haven't seen like a big person like yourself in like a specific space actually use them yet.
Well, I'll tell you what. Like people in this space, the crypto space, need to be more supportive of one another, I guess, right? Rather than not. And
Yeah.
like for example, with Coinbase, like I've tried to have conversations with them in the past, and I never really got anywhere with them. They said the first conversation or the second or third conversation we had is they don't support gambling companies, but yet they have Augur, which is weird, right? Like that to me is gambling, and it's not even licensed or regulated gambling. So
Hmm.
it's tough to it's tough to know what they're thinking. But at the end of the day, we know what we're building. If anyone comes to our platform and sees our platform and how awesome it actually is, and you won't find anything like it. So I really think that crypto companies should be looking at it and thinking, how can we help them? How can we help us on their platform, right? And we're
Yeah.
open to partnering with virtually anyone.
Yeah.
I have no issues partnering with almost anyone out there. Um, uh, it's something that we've been working on for years, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So to bring it back to sports, how long do you think we're away from sports?
A while. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, well, I mean, I think it'll be 2 months before, anything big comes back. So they've got to make fast decisions.
Yeah.
The guys at the major sports book operators have to make fast decisions. Right now they're doing fantasy on politics, which even
Oh,
that's delayed,
shit.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, even that's delayed. And so they're scrambling, and we're ready. We're taking calls all the time. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big NBA fan, so I'm hoping that comes back at least in a couple months.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say with these players contracting and stuff. There's got to be a lot more, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see. And nobody knows the long-term effects. I've read some unfortunate stories where people have gotten it and then they got it back
Yeah.
after they don't have it anymore. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
We'll definitely see. So last question, you're a Seahawk fan. What are they going to do this year?
Well, that's a good question. I just renewed my season tickets, kind of reluctantly, but kind of not. I don't know. I think Russ is going to, spend a lot of money on the offensive line, and I just hope everybody comes in healthy and we get through this next
Yeah.
few, right?
Yeah,
You know
totally.
what's happen. I'm actually, I'm worried about this pandemic a bit, but I know we'll get through it. I just don't know the timing of it. Like
Yeah.
I fully expect the Seattle will be on a lockdown, a mandatory lockdown soon. Has to
I
be.
no, I totally think you're right on there, and
Yeah.
it feels like it's coming, and it seems as though perhaps the intent was to do things slowly, so as not to scare people, but perhaps that was a little too slow,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I agree. I think Seattle. Rahul and I are both in the Seattle area, so yeah, I think you're probably right on that.
I would recommend that everybody watch Bill Gates' TED Talk on the pandemic. It's unbelievable. It's from 2015. He is a visionary beyond visionaries, and he actually had a chat with our president a couple of years ago about this, warning him that it's coming. And
Yeah.
here we are. So, but it's pretty incredible. He talked about it, and then he wrote an article about this one in particular, saying this could be the one that we've all feared. I think he's right. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make sure to put that link in the show notes
Yeah.
overall. Well, before we end, is there anything you want to leave people with or questions that you want people to think about as they're going about their day listening to this?
Well, I think probably the best thing I could say is do the responsible thing and be socially apart from others. I guess it's okay to go outside for a walk as long as you stay away from other people. But we're all in this together, so we'll all get out of it. But yeah, it is pretty serious,
Yeah.
So let's see where it
Yeah.
goes. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Rahul, thank you so much. What's the best ways that people can follow you or stay in contact with you?
Always Twitter. It's easy.
Oh, it's Twitter.
At
What's your
Rahul
Twitter handle? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, at RAHULSOOD.
Awesome.
Rahul.
Awesome. Cool. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. We'll have this up on the podcast soon, and we'll be talking to you all very quickly. Thank you so much. If you could follow us at TF Blockchain, and I'm at JG Product. Thanks again, Raul. Always a pleasure, and I'm sure we'll be catching up on all these things in a couple of weeks or months. We'll see.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
Take
man.
care.